How long's Jon Jones been going?
Jon Jones is a freak of all freaks. Because Jon Jones beat Daniel Cormier when he was on coke. That was one of the funny things he said in the press conference for the rematch. Daniel was talking shit. He goes, "I beat you when I was on coke."
Well, that spinning kick that he did to that
Stipe Miocic,
where he said and I think he thanked his Taekwondo coach, and he said he had been working on this one specific kick from both sides, because of something he saw on the tape, and he got it off and hit this guy so hard, not even on his liver side. He hit him on the other side, and you see it shudder through his entire organ structure.
Yeah, his heel was deep into his body cavity, all the way up to his fucking
gnarly.
spine. Yeah,
but he just practiced this one specific, and he was he even said, he goes, "It is a devastating shot." There's not a human being who could.
One training clip just sent shockwaves through the entire heavyweight division. And we're not talking about some flashy knockout highlight or trash talk session. This is Jon Jones, quietly preparing, methodically working, and somehow that's more terrifying than anything he's ever said or done inside the octagon.
For when he fought Gustafsson, he beat Gustafsson and he didn't train at all. I talked to his trainer. He's like, he didn't even show up at the gym. He was fucking never there. He was never.
Here's what makes this footage so absolutely unnerving. Jones has built his entire career on natural talent and raw instinct. Joe Rogan famously talked about how Jones once demolished Alexander Gustafsson with essentially zero preparation. His own coaches revealed that Jones barely trained consistently, hardly spent extended time in the gym, yet still dominated elite opponents purely on skill alone. That was scary enough when he was coasting. But this current footage shows something completely different. The discipline, the focused effort, and that unparalleled natural ability are now perfectly aligned. And if you know anything about Jon Jones' history, you understand that this specific combination has produced absolutely horrifying, division-altering results.
Shallow right now. You got Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, Jon Jones if he chooses to fight again, Francis if by some miracle they can work something out and bring him back to the UFC. Other than that, there's no one compelling for a championship caliber fighter. There's basically 4 or 5 guys on earth that are in this championship caliber.
But here's where it gets wild. Joe Rogan's been breaking down exactly why this version of Jones is so dangerous, and his analysis keeps circling back to one brutal reality. The heavyweight division without Jones is dangerously thin on truly elite talent. It's a relatively short and uninspiring list of legitimate threats at the top. But with Jones in the picture, everything changes. The entire heavyweight scene gets transformed because Jones isn't just judged by his own skill anymore. He's judged by whether the people around him can even compete on his level. And right now, that's looking like a very short list.
But he was a heavyweight, and he goes, I had the chance to spar with Jon Jones, to work with Jon Jones. And he goes, I knew about it months ahead of time. He goes, I got my nutrition, everything was absolutely flawless. I got, my sleep, everything was on. He goes, I show up at the gym that morning. He goes, it's me and 5 other guys. He goes, he comes in, I think he went to sleep at 4 a.m. or something. He was out all night, and he goes, he ran through all 6
That's my buddy Brendan Schaub.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Now get this part, because it's absolutely mind-blowing. Matt Damon once made this incredible point about levels in MMA that perfectly explains what we're seeing. Damon argued that a heavyweight fighter could train flawlessly for months, look absolutely dialed in and in peak form, and still get easily defeated by Jon Jones on what would be considered a bad night for Jones. Think about that for a second. Damon wasn't talking about technique or specific matchups. He was talking about the existence of an entirely different tier of mastery, even amongst the elite. There's levels to this game that most fighters will never reach. And now we're seeing Jones, who used to dominate casually, actively choosing to put in maximum effort. That changes everything.
Best. At his absolute best, is there anybody in UFC history was a better fighter than Jon Jones?
No.
Not even
Not
close.
St. Pierre.
No.
Not Anderson.
The truth.
Not
hey,
Demetrius.
Hey, let me tell you something. People like to say you be hating on Jon Jones, man. He can beat you. I said, listen, man, and I told you this whenever I did your podcast.
You did.
I was so good when he beat me that second time that if he beat me that time, I don't think nobody could beat him. He was so. Plus, he tall. He got long arms.
84-inch reach.
Yep. He got good knees.
Elbow.
Him and I did that thing together. And we were talking about boxing. And he was like, if we boxed, it would be much harder fight.
Right.
He goes, because I kick Daniel a lot. And I need Daniel a lot.
Right.
And I think that is why, or a thing that people underestimate about him. I don't think in terms of skills, maybe Khabib was as good, but Conor McGregor was real good.
Here's what makes Daniel Cormier's perspective so devastating. Cormier isn't speaking as some analyst or casual fan. He's speaking as someone who faced Jon Jones head-on at the absolute peak of his own powers, and his assessment is brutal in its simplicity. The version of himself that lost to Jones was unequivocally the best fighter he ever was in his entire career. If Jones could beat that version of Cormier, it completely redefines the ceiling of what's possible in this sport. Cormier believes only truly rare primes, like Prime Khabib or a fully locked-in Conor McGregor, even belong in the same conversation as Jon Jones. But here's the kicker. Jones didn't just compete at that level. He literally defined it.
And I'm only telling you this from a guy that lived in that world, right?
You lived in that division.
I also never beat him.
Yeah.
And I had, no matter what I did going forward, it was always that, well, you never beat Jon Jones. Tom Aspinall is going to get that belt, and there's going to be a gap, right? That lineal championship breaks. That line breaks. When Tom goes from interim to champion. Because Jon never gave him the opportunity to fight him.
But either did Francis never gave Jon Jones the opportunity to fight him.
Francis was going to give Jon an opportunity. Jon wasn't ready to take it at the time.
Exactly.
Right?
So there you have that same type of thing.
So it keeps breaking. Francis left. Made a boatload of money. So in retrospect, Francis probably made the right decision because he got paid
1000%.
so much money to box.
Exactly.
But Jon not fighting Tom messes with the the line of succession, the balance of the world. It's like the Avengers.
Yeah,
the Infinity Stones going back.
Yeah.
He needed to fight him. I wish he would have fought him but I think he's not fighting him for one reason and one reason only. He doesn't want to put the work in.
And that brings us to the Tom Aspinall problem. Cormier makes this incredibly nuanced point about legacy that goes way deeper than just rankings. Unlike someone like Thiago Johnson, whose legacy feels complete, Tom Dominic career will always carry a massive what if without ever truly facing Ray's Jones. Even if Aspinall becomes undisputed heavyweight champion, there will forever be this shadow cast over that achievement. The direct, lineal threat would be broken because Jones never gave him the shot. That gap, that unanswered question, is exactly what separates a great fighter from an undeniable legend. And honestly, that's precisely why this rumored White House card emerges as the perfect stage for this confrontation.
Tom Aspinall, you think he would have won?
He could, but bro, we can't be forever there. But if he beat that guy, young guy, maybe he could beat him, Jon Jones as well. But when you get older, it's different. But if you use Jon Jones his young age with anyone, bro, he gonna beat anyone. Yeah. So and every day people getting older, I'm happy the guy is finished, he's legend and undefeated. And it's good picture for everyone, anyone, the guy becomes so crazy talent, so crazy hard worker, you can't be there if you don't work hard.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. Khabib Nurmagomedov isn't holding back on his assessment of this potential super fight. He sees Jon Jones as a fighter whose prime is long past him, pointing directly to Jones' limited activity over the past 5 years. Aspinall specifically mentions the controversial outcomes against Cormier Santos and Dominic Reyes, implying those performances showed that Jones' raw dominance just isn't there anymore. In Khabib's view, the era of Jones' unquestioned supremacy is over. Meanwhile, he singles out Tom Aspinall as the heavyweight of the moment, a fighter who's not just in his prime, but completely tuned in and capable of setting an entirely new benchmark for the division.
He's like immediately incapacitated. Immediately.
He shut down.
It's like he poked my eye and then he's like immediately, there's no like.
He never tried to look. It was rag on the eye immediately.
Dude, I would have been the silliest looking cat on national TV just
trying. He didn't try.
Trying.
He didn't try.
Same thing with Curtis Blaze. When he hurt his knee, there was no limping, there was no trying to get up. It was just like immediately.
Yep.
Burn my village. I can't go on. When he got tapped out with an ankle lock, there was no trying to fight his.
Now here's where things get absolutely brutal. Jon Jones himself has been analyzing Tom Aspinall, and his assessment is devastatingly direct. According to Jones, once Aspinall truly feels pain or starts taking significant damage, he just shuts down instantly. And Jones isn't talking about a brief moment of vulnerability. He's talking about immediate capitulation. No struggle, no fight, just giving up. To back up this claim, Jones points to specific examples from Aspinall's past fights. An eye poke incident, a knee injury, getting caught in an ankle lock. In Jones' interpretation, Aspinall simply didn't fight through the adversity with the grit you'd expect from a top-tier heavyweight. That perceived weakness is exactly what a strategic fighter like Jones would exploit.
If you've watched Tom Aspinall, you know that's not true, okay? But he's not overrated. He hasn't got a simple game. The man's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He started doing jiu-jitsu when he was 16 years old. And I'm not trying to do another video here defending Tom Aspinall or taking Tom's side over Jon Jones. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just calling out the facts like I see it. When you look at Tom Aspinall's record, 15 wins, 12 knockouts, 3 submissions. So he's finished all of his fights.
Hold up, though, because Michael Bisping immediately fired back at Jones' assessment. Bisping emphasizes that Aspinall is far from one-dimensional. The guy's been training jiu-jitsu since he was 16 years old, and his record backs up everything Bisping says. Aspinall has 15 wins with 12 by knockout and 3 by submission. Every single one of his victories ends decisively. Those submission finishes prove he's dangerous when the fight hits the ground, not just standing up. Bisping makes it clear he's not picking sides, just laying out the facts. This is a legitimate heavyweight contender with the skill set to finish fights multiple ways. Dismissing him as easy work simply doesn't line up with the evidence.
It's hurt. It's like he's like immediately incapacitated. Immediately.
He shut down.
It's like he poked my eye and then he's like immediately, there's no like.
He never tried to look. It was rag on the eye immediately.
Dude, I would have been the silliest looking cat on national TV just
trying. He didn't try.
Trying.
He didn't try.
Same thing with Curtis Blaze. When he hurt his knee, there was no limping, there was no trying to get up. It was just like immediately.
Yep.
Burn my village. I can't go on. When he got tapped out with an ankle lock, there was no trying to fight his hands. There were no trying.
But here's the kicker that changes everything. Dana White just made it crystal clear that the White House card is shaping up to be absolutely historic. Every single fighter on the roster is desperately clamoring for a spot on this card, which is already turning this into a must-watch spectacle. When directly asked about the ultimate main event, Dana didn't hesitate for a second. Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. Just imagine that clash. A prime, explosive heavyweight at his peak going toe-to-toe against one of MMA's greatest and most controversial figures, all on one of the biggest stages imaginable. And get this, there's even the possibility that legends like Conor McGregor and Jon Jones could share the same fight card, turning this into a once-in-a-lifetime fight night. Now listen to this part, because Chael Sonnen brings up something crucial that everyone's thinking but nobody's saying. While Jon Jones might be back in the conversation, his reliability has always been a significant wild card. It's not just about getting Jones from point A to point B for a fight. It's about accountability, about consistently showing up, about honoring the responsibilities of being world champion. When Jones falters, or when plans involving him fall through, it reflects directly on the integrity of the championship itself. And that's been a persistent challenge the sport has grappled with when dealing with one of its most talented yet unpredictable superstars. This is where Demetrius Johnson's analysis becomes absolutely brilliant. Johnson breaks down exactly why Jones versus Aspinall makes perfect sense and why the White House card is the ideal stage. Jones had made it clear he'd only consider the fight if the payout was substantial, putting Dana White in an impossible position. How do you satisfy a fighter of Jones' caliber financially without devaluing the championship? If the champion visibly doesn't care about the belt, then nobody else can either. Matching Jones with Aspinall solves this dilemma perfectly. Aspinall gets the undisputed shot he's earned, Jones gets his lucrative moment, and the White House card becomes the perfect platform to settle who truly sits at the pinnacle of the heavyweight division. So there you have it. We've got Jon Jones training harder than ever, looking more focused than we've seen in years, while Tom Aspinall is in his absolute prime and desperate to prove he belongs at the top. The White House card is shaping up to be the perfect stage. Dana White wants to make it happen, and the entire MMA world is holding its breath waiting for this clash. This isn't just about a title fight anymore. This is about legacy, about who defines the heavyweight division going forward, and about whether the old guard can still hang with the new generation of killers. Here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Who walks away as the undisputed heavyweight champion? Will it be Jon Jones proving he's still the untouchable generational talent we've always known, or Tom Aspinall cementing himself as the new standard bearer for the future? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake here, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this White House card is about to deliver some absolutely legendary moments. I'll see you in the next one. But hold on, because there's another layer to this story that makes it even more compelling. What we're witnessing isn't just a clash between two fighters, it's a collision between two completely different eras of heavyweight fighting. Jon Jones represents the old-school mentality where psychological warfare and mental domination were just as important as physical skills. He's the master of getting inside his opponent's head before they even step into the octagon. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall represents this new breed of heavyweight that's emerged over the last few years. These guys are faster, more technical, and they've grown up studying every single mistake that previous generations made. And here's where it gets absolutely fascinating from a tactical standpoint. Jon Jones has always been known for his ability to adapt mid-fight and exploit weaknesses that even his opponents didn't know they had. Remember his fight against Rampage Jackson? Jones literally invented new techniques during that fight, throwing spinning elbows that nobody had ever seen before at that level. But Tom Aspinall presents a completely different puzzle. This isn't a fighter who's going to give Jones 5 rounds to figure him out. Aspinall's entire game is built around ending fights early and explosively. So we're looking at the ultimate chess match between Jones' adaptability and Aspinall's urgency. Now here's something that's been flying under the radar but could be absolutely crucial. The heavyweight division has fundamentally changed since Jones was last consistently active. The level of athleticism has skyrocketed. Guys like Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane showed that you can be 250 pounds and still move like a middleweight. Tom Aspinall fits perfectly into this new mold. He's got knockout power in his hands, submission skills on the ground, and the cardio to maintain a blistering pace for multiple rounds. This isn't the same heavyweight division that Jones dominated years ago when the big men were slower and more predictable. But let's talk about something that could completely change the dynamic of this fight. Jon Jones' move to heavyweight wasn't just about gaining weight and hitting harder. It fundamentally altered his entire fighting philosophy. At light heavyweight, Jones could rely on his reach advantage and technical superiority to control distance and dictate pace. At heavyweight, that reach advantage is minimized, and the power differential means one mistake could end everything instantly. We saw glimpses of this new Jones against Cyril Gane, but that fight ended so quickly that we never really got to see how this version of Jones handles sustained pressure from an elite heavyweight. And speaking of pressure, let's dive into what Tom Aspinall brings to the table that nobody else in the heavyweight division currently offers. His finishing rate isn't just impressive, it's historically significant. When you look at his UFC run, the guy has never seen a third round. Every single fight ends decisively, usually within the first 2 rounds. That's not luck or favorable matchmaking. That's a fighter who understands exactly how to capitalize on every opening and turn small advantages into fight-ending moments. Against Ngannou Jones, that killer instinct could be the difference between winning and losing. Here's where the mental game becomes absolutely critical, and this is something that Daniel Cormier touched on that deserves way more attention. Fighting Jon Jones isn't just about preparing for his techniques or his game plan. It's about preparing for the mind games, the psychological pressure, and the way he can make elite fighters second-guess themselves. Cormier talked about how Jones would get in his head weeks before their fights even happened. But here's the thing about Tom Aspinall that makes him different from previous Jones opponents. This guy has been calling out Jones publicly, showing zero intimidation or hesitation. That mental fortitude could be exactly what's needed to neutralize Jones' psychological advantages. Now let's address the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about directly: Jon Jones' age and activity level. The guy is 37 years old and has only fought once in the heavyweight division. Father Time is undefeated in combat sports, and while Jones looked phenomenal against Cyril Gane, that was against a very specific type of opponent. Gane is technical but not particularly aggressive or explosive. Tom Aspinall represents the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He's going to come forward, apply constant pressure, and look for the finish from the opening bell. The question becomes whether Jones' body can still handle that type of sustained assault after years of wars and extended layoffs. But here's what makes this potential matchup absolutely electric from a stylistic standpoint. Jon Jones has always been at his best when he can control the pace and dictate where the fight takes place. His clinch work is legendary, his ground game is underrated, and his ability to transition between different phases of fighting is second to none. However, Tom Aspinall's entire approach is built around not letting his opponents get comfortable anywhere. He pressures on the feet, he's dangerous in transitions, and if the fight hits the ground, he's proven he can finish from multiple positions. This creates a scenario where neither fighter can rely on their usual comfort zones. And let's talk about something that could be a massive factor that most people aren't considering. The White House card isn't just any regular UFC event. The pressure, the media attention, the historical significance of the venue, all of that adds layers of complexity that could affect both fighters differently. Jon Jones has fought in huge moments before. He's headlined massive pay-per-views, dealt with intense media scrutiny, and performed under the brightest lights the sport has to offer. But Tom Aspinall, while he's fought for interim titles, has never been in a moment quite this significant. The question becomes whether that experience gap shows up when the lights are brightest. However, there's a flip side to that pressure situation that could actually favor Aspinall. Sometimes fighters perform their best when they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Aspinall is still building his legacy, still proving himself to the broader MMA community. That hunger, that desperation to cement his place among the all-time greats, could push him to a performance level that even surprises himself. Meanwhile, Jones is fighting to maintain his legacy rather than build it. That's a completely different type of pressure, and history shows us that fighters protecting legacies sometimes fight more cautiously than fighters trying to create them. Now here's something absolutely crucial that Joe Rogan pointed out in his recent breakdown that deserves more attention. The heavyweight division is at a crossroads right now. We've got established veterans like Stipe Miocic potentially on their way out, explosive newcomers like Tom Aspinall making their mark, and legendary figures like Jon Jones trying to cement their heavyweight credentials. This fight isn't just about who wins or loses. It's about who sets the tone for the next era of heavyweight fighting. The winner doesn't just get a belt, they get to define what the pinnacle of heavyweight MMA looks like for the next several years. And let's be brutally honest about something that's been bothering hardcore MMA fans for months. The heavyweight title picture has been in limbo for way too long. We've had interim champions, disputed rankings, and constant speculation about who deserves what opportunities. This fight, if it happens, finally provides clarity. No more debates about who's the real champion, no more arguments about interim versus undisputed titles. Winner takes all, and the division can finally move forward with a clear hierarchy and legitimate championship lineage. But here's where things get really interesting from a technical breakdown perspective. Both fighters have shown the ability to finish fights in spectacular fashion, but their approaches are completely different. Jon Jones is surgical in his violence. He identifies weaknesses, exploits them systematically, and breaks his opponents down piece by piece until they can't continue. Tom Aspinall is more explosive in his approach. He creates chaos, overwhelms his opponents with combinations and transitions, and capitalizes on any opening to end the fight immediately. When these two philosophies collide, we're going to see something special. The training footage that started this whole conversation becomes even more significant when you consider the stakes involved. Jon Jones has never been known as the hardest worker in the gym. His natural talent carried him through most of his career without needing to maximize his preparation. But now, seeing him put in that level of focused work suggests he understands exactly what type of challenge Tom Aspinall represents. This isn't a fight he can win on talent alone. This requires the complete package of skill, preparation, and mental focus. And if Jones is willing to put in that work, it tells us everything we need to know about how seriously he's taking this potential matchup. So here we stand at the precipice of what could be the most significant heavyweight title fight in years. Every element is perfectly aligned for an absolute war. The veteran legend looking to prove he can still dominate the division's best, facing off against the hungry contender who represents the future of heavyweight fighting. Mark my words, when this fight finally gets announced officially, it's going to break the internet. And when these two finally step into that octagon, we're going to witness something that defines heavyweight MMA for the next decade. What do you think happens when these two finally collide? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe because we're going to be covering every single development in this heavyweight saga until it finally plays out.